Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Ruffman. I am your host, John Ruffman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base. On Friday, we read the story and heard the story of a federal judge who was accused of helping a man flee ICE. The judge in question, a local judge in the state of Wisconsin, Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan, is accused of escorting the man and his lawyer out of her courtroom through a jury door in order to avoid being arrested by ICE. Now, I have to explain to you that this was an announcement by the Justice Department. That's right, the Federal Justice Department. We're talking about Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, and of course, at the urging of Donald Trump. When a judge is arrested in the way that this judge was, Hannah Dugan, who, by the way, is highly respected. You can hear all of the testimonies to her. Absolutely marvelous. Her attorney said Judge Dugan wholeheartedly regrets and protests her arrest. It was not made in the interests of public safety. That's right. It wasn't done in the interest of public safety. It was done in the interest of Donald Trump and his administration, and an attempt to make the issue of immigration a central issue. And so it is that a judge, duly constituted in her courtroom, was arrested by ICE. I don't know about you, but I think it sends a chilling effect. And that may be the goal of Donald Trump, to send a chilling effect on those who believe in the system of justice. No, Judge Dugan didn't commit any crime. She simply did whatever she did, and that should be aired in court. But arrested? Arrested? Make no mistake. The day that we come to a situation where a judge can be arrested by the federal government because that judge is not in compliance with what the federal government perceives as the law, is a day when everyone in the United States should be profoundly disturbed. There is something wrong. This is a clash between the Trump administration and the authorities dealing with this question, and it will have a chilling effect on local response. I raise this question with you because this kind of outrageous, egregious action by the United States Department of Justice because of a political dispute, well, it should send chills up and down all of our spine. And then, my friends, there is the question of Ukraine. May 8th to 10th, the Russians have announced will be a ceasefire in honor of their victory in the Second World War over Germany. That's great, but it doesn't solve the problem of Russian insistence on the acceptance of certain terms. The fact that Donald Trump seems willing to accede, to concede, to agree that Russia will control Crimea, well, I tell you something, it violates every bone of my body when it comes to the question of appeasement. Trump is pressuring Ukraine to cede Crimea to Russia. That's what's happening, and everyone should be appalled. It is not a ceasefire that will bring peace. It is a negotiation. And the United States has now taken a firm stand against Ukraine. The Crimea will stay with Russia, Donald Trump announced, and Zelensky understands that, and everybody understands that it's been with them for a long time. It's been with them for a long time before Trump came along. Zelensky diplomatically said he didn't want to comment on Trump's statement. But we know that the Ukrainians will reject this notion. We know that the Europeans will reject this notion. And we know that the United States, under different leadership, would reject this notion. For the President of the United States, in order to get a deal, as he called it, to announce that Crimea will stay with Russia, well, all I can tell you is it is absolutely unconscionable. And for those of us who have believed in Ukrainian independence and reject the idea of this kind of unilateral action, seizing a territory, something NATO has rejected and the world has rejected, well, all I can tell you is this is a moment when we need to stop and reflect. Now, there are some who say, well, John, Donald Trump isn't so bad. After all, look at all the good he's done. Well, whether I look at domestic affairs or foreign affairs, I don't see much good being accomplished. Now, for those of you who suggest to me, as one of my loyal listeners has suggested, that I would criticize Donald Trump at the drop of a hat, not necessarily true. But I can tell you, when the President of the United States does something so unconscionable, and there are two examples today, just two. First, Judge Hannah Dugan, who we just talked about, and second, his pressure on Ukraine to cede Crimea to Russia. No, this is wrong. And let's be clear, Marco Rubio and Donald Trump, imposing this kind of solution is appeasement. It does not bring peace. We all know that if this deal were cut the way Donald Trump wants it, there would be massive resistance, and deservedly so. So, this morning, the beginning of a new week, tomorrow will mark 100 days of Donald Trump, and we will talk about that tomorrow. This is a turning point for the United States, and everyone needs to recognize the danger zone that we are now in. I have only selected two incidents of this weekend, but tomorrow we will reflect on 100 days of Donald Trump. Unbelievable, tragic, and books will be written about it, I can assure you. Well, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am John Rothman. Make sure to follow along. Let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which is, of course, our goal. You can interact with me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, by direct email, and many of you do. And, of course, my special thanks to Gogo Zoger, who makes sure that this podcast is up and running each and every weekday. Gogo, thanks for doing such a great job. This is John Rothman, and you are listening to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I'll be back tomorrow. See you then.